All right, this is going to be my reaction video to the Bengals 27-10 win over the Bills in Buffalo Sunday afternoon. Look, this was a pretty one-sided game in terms of game flow, in terms of physicality, execution. I thought this was just another example of the Bengals defense being one step ahead or even two steps ahead. If there was a defensive coordinator in the NFL that I could, somehow learn some of the things they do, it would definitely be the Bengals defensive coordinator, Lou, however you say his name. I need to learn how to say his name because he's probably going to have these guys in the Super Bowl, or at least there's, a betting chance that he will be. And as the Bengals get to go and play Kansas City again, a team that they have solved defensively in the second half of games multiple times. If this is your first time checking out one of my reaction videos, first of all, I appreciate you checking it out. Please consider, liking and subscribing. What I generally do is let the stats run like so: offense, defense, and then team stats. And then I start to talk about the first half observations. I make notes at halftime that kind of prepares my analysis to be able to get this out a little quicker. I wasn't able to get this out quick at all. To be honest with you, it's quite late. But the Bengals definitely came in incredibly prepared offensively, scoring 3 times in their first 4 possessions. They had that possession to end the first half, I know, that ended in a Hail Mary, and I believe they scored on the first possession of the third quarter as well. I could be wrong there. But definitely prepared offensively. I thought the offensive line for the Bengals and their defensive line absolutely kicked the crap out of the Bills. I mean, that was a little shocking at first, but after you see that happen for 60 minutes consistently, you just kind of have to say, hey, if these teams were to line it up again next week, there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't expect the Bills to run for 150 plus again. I mean, I think they ran for the Bengals, to run for 150 plus again. I think they ran for 172 today. But there's like a 21-yard scramble in there by Burrow late in the second quarter that I think is a little bit of an anomaly. Not that he's not capable of doing those things often. It's just that the situation late in the second quarter, the Bills seem to be kind of content with letting him run there. Look, what we're going to do is go over some of the stats and the possessions here in a moment. I will show you guys pictures. I'll show you guys basically pictures of my possession breakdowns. I'm going to go into my halftime notes. And on some level, you'll have to trust that these are my halftime notes as I wrote them, and I didn't go back and change them. I put, the Bengals 17-7 lead at halftime really feels like it could have been bigger. They controlled the entire 30 minutes, at least 3 long drives on offense, and a physical defense that limited plays and seemed at times, and I don't know this, but seemed at times to be, confusing is the wrong word. There's got to be a better word for that. Slowing down Josh Allen's progression. I thought that this was not a game where Stephon Diggs was going to have 9 catches for 160 and 2 touchdowns. I thought that Shakir and Beasley, the guys that operate in the slot, were the ones who had the bigger plays when targeted. Let me put it that way. I think that Shakir had 3 big catches, and I think Beasley had 2 or maybe 3 actually, one of them on a screen. The Bengals front 4 got pressure on Allen often, and they're just so smart with how they use these 3-man rushes. I think that I had him using it twice in the first half. Romo was talking about it, so at least he was giving credit to a defense. I know he talked about Burrow, obviously, which he should. The guy played very well and very efficient. It seemed like he was waiting for opportunities to talk about Josh Allen. He kept saying, Superman's got to take over at some point. I mean, the Bengals' defense appears to be some of these high-level quarterbacks' kryptonite for real. The quick passing game of Burrow and the manipulation of the Bills' safeties, I got to be honest with you, it was a little bit satisfying for me to watch him look off safeties and linebackers who, I mean, really, to be honest with you, in a lot of these situations where these guys are staring at the quarterback and not reading patterns, that's not sound. And today I thought it got exposed. Burrow was very efficient, in the first half at least. Like I said, Bengals scored on 3 of their first 4 possessions leading up to that Hail Mary. And like a few people said in my Discord, it seemed like a big risk for the Bengals for that Hail Mary with a very low chance of reward. Nonetheless, they go for the Hail Mary with 2 seconds left, and they got, it was incomplete. One very important moment I thought was the Bills' previous possession. After this amazing catch by Gabe Davis, who leaped over like Eli Apple to stab the ball out of the air for like a 25-yard gain with like a minute and 30 left. The Bills were unable to get anything else going. I think they were down on like the 40 or the 38. There was a pass deflected by the Bengals D-line, and they actually had 2 of those in the first half, and I think 1 in the second. And then the Bills go empty twice, and I just thought that was a tactical mistake. They were not able to protect Burrow. The Bengals seemed to be able to get pressure when they wanted to. When they wanted to bring 4, they were able to get pressure. When they wanted to bring 3, hell, Trey Hendrickson was beating the left tackle consistently anyway. Any case, the second down, there was a pass to Singletary over the middle that was dropped. Maybe it was a little off target, popped up in the air. Nobody from the Bengals defense or a Bills offensive player was nearby, so it fell, hit the ground. The ensuing play, Hendrickson beats the left tackle again, and Allen's flushed out to his right into Sam Hubbard, basically. I'm not sure who the hold was on. Maybe it was on the guy blocking Hendrickson or the guy blocking Hubbard. And Allen throws it away. The hold was called, like I said, and the Bengals declined it on third down, forcing the Bills to punt. And there was some discussion about, maybe going for it or whatever. It seemed like the Bills defensively had no answers for the Bengals 11 personnel. I don't have any plays diagrammed up in here. Maybe if people are interested, I'll do a follow-up to 2 of the run concepts the Bengals were using. The tight ends were open multiple times for the Bengals. Irwin, Mixon, and Perrine, I thought, contributed like 5 or 6 catches in the first half to supplement what the Stars had produced thus far. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the Bengals' first 3. I'm going to go over the Bengals' possessions in the first half. So we're going to talk about this first one here. And hopefully the font and the text is clear for you guys. That's just a play-by-play. On the left, far left column is down and distance, then yard line, personnel formation, run pass, concept with a brief description, then result over to the far right. I thought that the Bengals made a conscious effort to attack to the boundary with the run game. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe they were getting the 1 technique and the 5 to the boundary. It looked to me like they were setting Hurst or whoever the tight end was to the field, and the running back to the field. So like you see that second play there, the 2nd and 4 from the -27, trips left A. That means that Hurst and the running back were both on the left side. They were on the same side. That's the A designation. And then they run into the boundary away from the trips. Essentially, I think they were running away from the nickel defender, but I can't prove that yet. So it was a 5-yard gain by Mixon. The next play, completion to Boyd. A great catch, I thought, 23-yard gain. Burrow kind of stepped up through pressure. And then again, the very next play, 1st and 10 from the 45, the Bills side of the field now. Trey Wright under center. And this toss to Mixon was a 10-yard run, kind of surging downfield through tacklers. Hurst with a 7-yard gain. And then the big one to Chase. Burrow kind of stepped up through pressure again. Left hash in the slot. I thought the Bills defenders were, again, kind of manipulated by Burrow's eyes. It looked like to me it was a zone blitz. I thought I saw 3 deep, 3 under coverage with a 5-man rush. And again, Burrow's one of those guys. I said this while covering the Ravens-Bengals game a couple of weeks ago, actually the 2 in a row. I said it's not a matter of if Joe Burrow escapes the pressure. It's a matter of when, because he's going to do that. And I think teams are kind of remiss sometimes when they're – I don't think the numbers add up bringing 5 against this Bengals team in 11 personnel. I just don't. So that put them up 7-0. All right, Bengals' second possession. I think they got a quick 3-and-out by the Bills. They go down and take a 14-0 lead. And it was this is going to sound kind of crazy to say. No one would have thought it at the time. But looking back on it, this 14-0 lead and the 17-7 lead, the game was really over. That's how well the Bengals defense is playing, and it's kind of crazy. They're playing without Awuzie, one of the best corners in the league, who is, like so many of the defenders on the Bengals team, underrated and underappreciated, and even, to be honest with you, misunderstood. All right, this second possession, look at the runs. It's the 5th column over, or I guess the 3rd from the right. Look at the runs. Mixon, 5 yards. Mixon, 16. Perrine with a split zone for 4. And again, a lot of these are coming out of trips. If you look at the first 4 plays, the formations. Trips B, bunch A. The 3rd play was a pass play to Higgins, a Z under. And then the 4th play, bunch right B. That bunch means 3 guys lined up next to each other or near each other. See, the 6th play there is a joker's set, meaning Chase is in the backfield. I think it's smart when the Bengals do that. It puts pressure on the defense because you don't know which side Chase is going to motion out to. And sometimes he'll start to motion to one side and then kind of return to the other. This was a toss to him. He looked very hesitant to me. He didn't really look comfortable running in that situation. And I know that they've used him in that manner many times before. He just didn't look as comfortable as I've seen him. Next play, a 2nd and 7. I thought this was important. You had a 4-yard pass to Perrine, and Burrow was going through his progressions very quick, just like he did against the Ravens last week and the week before. The 3rd and 3, where the Bills clearly jumped off sides, and Basham gets the sack on Burrow. Burrow nearly escaped it, but Basham gets the sack, chasing him, down towards the bottom of the television screen. 5-yard completion to Mixon in the flats. I think that was to the boundary. Again, I feel like the Bengals attacked to the boundary with the run game and to the flats with the pass game often. And I can't prove that. Didn't see many replays, but the All-22 come out Monday night. If anybody's interested, I'll try to do some film study on that. I definitely want to do some stuff on their run game. 2nd and 5, the stretch. Bad decision to go 13 personnel. If you guys look at the third column from the left, it's all 11 personnel. And then this 2nd and 5, suddenly they go under center with 13 personnel. And I thought it was a bad decision at the time. 2-yard loss. I think it was one of the safeties came up and made a tackle for a loss, but I could be wrong. Sets up a 3rd and 7. And then the fake screen, this was beautiful. Out of 11 personnel, 3rd and 7 from the 15, the final play at the bottom. Very similar to a play the Bengals ran against the Ravens in 2021 in Week 7 for a touchdown to Uzoma, who's since moved on to the Jets. Also similar to a play that I think they were setting up last week in the wildcard game, but there was pressure on Burrow, and so he was unable to get it off. I may have my games mixed up. Maybe it was the regular season finale, but they were setting it up. And this time they went with the fake screen. The linebacker, the corner, both went with the screen. The safety was off the television screen for us, so I'm a little inaccurate there saying the safety went for the screen, but he was definitely out of position. Looked like it was supposed to be a cover 2. Expert call by the Bengals, puts them up 14-0. The Bills, fans are obviously concerned at that point, as well they should have been. The game flow at that point was totally one-sided. All right, the Bills are able to go down, I think, and make it. Actually, they punted on the second possession. Their third possession was a long one. They closed it to 14-7 on this quarterback sneak by Allen from the 1. They ran the ball 8 times on that drive, including a really nice run by Cook to bounce it outside to the boundary and get 8 yards on a 2nd and 10. And I felt like that was something they needed to come back to. Trey Hendrickson on the Bengals' defense's right, and then the Bills' offense's left, obviously. He's very fundamental. He's very fundamental. If his tackle steps down, he will step down. And in this case, I think he was lined up over a slot tight end who stepped down. He stepped down with him. Cook bounced it for 8, and I felt like that was something the Bills could have come back to, at some point. Allen also had a big completion to Shakir. Hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, on the right side. And then Cole Beasley had a 12-yard catch on a screen. The Bills seem to have found something with that stacked twins look with Beasley and another receiver. I think it was Davis, but I could be wrong, out wide to one side. And I suspect that they had maybe two plays called, a run play and a pass play, seeing how maybe the Bengals lined up defensively, either, execute the run play or throw the quick screen out there. In this case, the play I'm referencing, Cole Beasley got a 12-yard catch on a little screen left side, and then they kind of didn't come back to that often. I thought I saw it 3 or 4 times early, that alignment, and then they didn't come back to it. I'm not sure why. And there was a hold on the Bills' O-line. Allen finds Shakir again on a 2nd and 16 to gain 23 yards. They would score 3 plays later to get within 14-7. And I wrote down the Bengals offense has to answer on the road. Their 4th possession, I think they take over. Eventually, after they got stopped on their 3rd, 4th possession, they take over up 14-7 with 7:25 left in the first half. And this one to me was important, even though it didn't result in a touchdown. It to me proved that the first 2 possessions were no joke. Look at the first thing I'd like to mention about the Bengals. I always say they put you in 11 personnel hell. Look at this whole 4th possession. 11 personnel the entire time. Whole time. This is the possession where on the 3rd and goal, after a false start on, I think their left tackle. I might be wrong. Maybe it was the right tackle. 79. 3rd and goal from the 10. It looks like Chase catches the ball live speed, and then they review it, and clearly he didn't have control. I thought it was a great play by Milano. I still wonder. I understand you got to double a guy like Chase at times. I still wonder about Milano and Poyer. It didn't look like to me, though. I thought I saw three situations where the Bills played this coverage, basically doubling Chase in the slot, who's lined up inside, with Milano and Poyer. Depending on the route release, it may not be a predetermined double. It may just be matching the pattern. But I thought that Chase looked open all three times, and maybe I'm wrong. You only get the television view, and then maybe sometimes Romo will play it back. But it didn't look like a good matchup, even though in this case Milano made a great play to challenge it in the back of the end zone. But look at the run pass here. The Bengals running the football again. Mixon for a third play, Mixon for 11 yards. Again, it was behind Hurst on this like F counter. The guard and Hurst pull, and it's not split zone. So I'm talking about the third play here. 1st and 10 from the negative 35. Trips left B. And I think they're running into the boundary again. Fourth play, incomplete to Chase, and then a huge completion to Hurst over the middle. I thought he was wide open. The Bills' coverages just did not look good. I don't like to criticize players individually, but it did not look to me like White, the corner, was completely healthy today. Now, I'm not saying he's the reason why Hurst got open here, but it just popped in my mind. He did not seem to play to the standard that I've seen him play to. Just me personally. Another run out of Jokers, gained I think 8 yards on like the seventh play down there. Perrine, it's a split zone, so again I think it was behind the tight end. I think at this time it was 84. 2 plays later, a 6-yard run by Mixon. Then the 3rd and 4. This was huge. 7-man pressure shown. I thought Romo talked about it very well. I think he did a good job analyzing the game, but he certainly didn't seem happy that the Bills' offense couldn't get going. It almost seemed like he was kind of shocked, even though he continually did give credit to the Bengals' defense. Don't get me wrong. I think he would prefer a 38-35 game where both quarterbacks throw for 370, and the Bengals defense and Lou, their defensive coordinator, just were not having that today. But that was a huge moment. 3rd and 4 from the 15. I'm not sure if it was White over there lined up on Chase. I don't think it was, but it's an 8-yard completion to Chase, and I didn't see that coverage again. I didn't see that 7-man pressure show again. I just don't think you can do that against the Bengals team. I think the math doesn't work. 2-yard gain by Mixon, then throwaway to the back of the end zone, false start, and it looks like this possession is going to be wasted. And then the touchdown to Chase. Great play by Chase, even though he bobbles it as he's falling. I guess if that was in the middle of the field, tell me if I'm wrong. If that was in the middle of the field and he catches it, then it probably is a completed pass because he's not out of bounds, right? But you guys let me know. It didn't look like the ball hit the ground. He just didn't control it until he hit the ground. Unfortunately for the Bengals, when he hit the ground, he was out of bounds. So they settle for a field goal, make it 17-7, and I believe the Bengals go down and get a stop and get the football back with 50 seconds left. Somewhere in there in the first half as well, there was a situation, I thought, where Josh Allen had a really poor decision to kind of flip the ball out to the running back in the flats on another pressure by Trey Hendrickson, who I thought Trey Hendrickson beat the left tackle, I'm going to say at least 3 or 4 times. My guess would be 4. I wouldn't guess 5. And Allen kind of flipped it out to the running back. Initially, it was ruled a fumble, and then they determined that it was not. Another situation like that happened in the second half with Mike Hilton on a blitz. Like, I thought there was a possession where Mike Hilton was the dominant force on the field. Just kind of showed his ability level. So Bills are unable to do anything with their late second quarter possession. Bengals get the ball back for that Hail Mary eventually, like I mentioned. Bills open the third quarter with a pretty balanced drive, if you ask me. Diggs went out after a pass up the right sideline that was well thrown on that possession. But I think that it was maybe a little bit too far thrown to the sideline, and I thought Tony Romo covered that, to be honest with you. And then Allen escaped a blitz the very next play with Diggs out off the field. Allen escaped an immediate blitz and found Beasley over the middle for 12. Again, I think him and Shakir were finding more space than Davis. I'm not sure, that may not be true. When I get the all-22, it may be a situation where they were only open 5 or 6 times, but they definitely seem to have an impact over the middle operating out of like a trip set. Bills did unfortunately have to settle for a field goal when the rookie for the Bengals, I thought, came up huge. Dax Hill, a talented guy who, in the last couple of weeks, to my knowledge and my awareness, has kind of not played great. I think he had 3 penalties against the Ravens last week. in 4 plays on the field. Maybe one of them was on special teams, but this 3rd and goal from the 7, the Bills' opening possession of the third quarter, I think Allen throws it high intentionally. I know that there will be some who say the ball was thrown too high. I think he throws it high intentionally because he maybe doesn't understand how athletic Dax Hill is, and he put his athleticism on full display. I mean, there was a bounce there. Like his feet were on the ground, and then boom, he's up in the air to challenge it on, again, what I think is a high throw, but intentionally so by Josh Allen, to give Knox the chance to just basically out jump Dax Hill, who it looks like he's got maybe 3 or 4 inches of height on, but Hill's athleticism, and his bounce saved him there. Bills cut it to 17-10, and you kind of think you got this. You kind of think you got this drive, this situation where the Bills are going to cut into this. Nope. The Bengals, up 17-10, their 6th possession, I thought was amazing. First of all, it was a long drive, all 11 personnel except for 2 12 personnel. It's the one that ends with basically 2nd and goal. Initially, Mixon is ruled short, but they reviewed it. 42 seconds left, I think, in the third quarter. So between the two teams, the Bills' opening possession of the third quarter, and then the Bengals' ensuing possession, which, again, I think they took over with like 7:42 left in the third quarter, where they go down and make it 24-10 after the review. Mixon is determined to be in, but look, there's a lot of runs here. Mixon for 4. Multiple passes, one to Higgins on the right sideline, one-on-one versus Tre'Davious White, the one-handed catch, and I thought White had a lot of trouble with those guys on the outside. Shaq Lawson hit Burrow low on a throw the very next play. I don't think it was intentionally trying to hurt him. And then they faced a 3rd and 10, and this was a huge moment. About 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Completion to Hurst on the chip delay out into the flats, I think into the boundary again. And I might be wrong there. Maybe it was to the field. 12-yard gain. Then Mixon for 8. And they're down to the 5 after a 13-yard run by Mixon on a 3rd and 1. It was a boundary side toss. Mixon cuts it up, and I thought he was damn near, going to take it to the house. 3rd and 1 from like the 27, toss to Mixon into the boundary, 13 yards. Then I think they get down to like the 6 or the 5. Incomplete pass, Mixon on a short run. I thought the Bills lost discipline here. There was 2 penalties called, and I thought there could have been a 3rd. I understand, though, that if you give up yards on a 2nd and goal from the 6-inch line, it kind of doesn't matter. They're only, moving 3 inches further forward. I felt like the Bills' defense, who I think incredibly highly of, I think they're extremely talented and well-coached and very disciplined. Watching that team defend the Ravens in Baltimore in Week 4, I just thought incredibly highly of them, just like I do of the Bengals defense and the Ravens defense and, a couple of other ones across the league. They had 12 players on the field once in this situation. They jumped off sides once. I just thought they kind of lost discipline there. Late in the third quarter, Mixon finishes it off with a short touchdown run, basically from 2 inches away after all the penalties. Make it 24-10. And this was a huge opportunity for the Bills, or a huge moment where the Bills had to get something going, and their 6th possession does nothing. Incomplete pass to Diggs on a slot fade. A late completion to McKenzie where he made Lance Wilson miss, setting up a 3rd and 2. And the biggest moment of the game in a lot of ways to this point, 24-10 Bengals, another rookie for the Bengals on a 3rd and 2. Bills have the ball on their -20, so their own 20-yard line. And instead of looking for something short, Josh Allen thinks he sees Gabe Davis open along the left side, and he was open. I mean, he beat CTB. He did. But CTB recovered. The ball might have been slightly underthrown, but it wasn't poorly thrown. And CTB recovered and knocked it away. I thought that was a huge moment there. It was a huge play. 4th and 2 from your own 20. You can't really go for it, even though you're down 24-10. And I think it's early fourth quarter, to be honest with you. No, it's like 2 plays left in the third quarter. My apologies. Bengals defense gets a stop to force a punt. I thought that was a huge moment, that play by CTB. The decision by Josh Allen, I can't second guess it because Davis was open. And I think if the ball is thrown in a more perfect fashion, I think he's got CTB beat, I believe. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section. Forces a punt. Bengals get the ball up 24-10. And you're kind of like, wow, 1 score here, and this is really over. And the Bengals go down and do it. and they get a field goal with about 12 minutes left to make it 27-10. I got to tell you, at that point, I kind of wasn't surprised. I don't know about you. If someone said, hey, would you be surprised if the Bengals, I mean, look at the stats that you got here. Would you be surprised if the Bengals roll into Buffalo and get 30 first downs? Definitely. I mean, definitely. Would you be surprised if they go in there and they run for 170? Of course. Absolutely. But once you've seen it happen like this throughout the game, and the Bengals have the ball early fourth quarter, at that point, I wasn't surprised. Mixon for 9 yards, Mixon for 3, a screen to Chase on a 1st and 10, which was a really good catch, I thought, by him, and he tried to snake up the left sideline for 8. And I thought I thought an RPO was coming. I actually said it in our Discord. We got like 65 people in our Discord. It's a part of my Patreon, and we discuss games, in live fashion via text, obviously. But it's a secure environment, so it's not like Twitter where you're posting something and who knows who's looking. This is kind of like a direct relationship type thing. I thought the RPO was a bad decision. They run an RPO on a 2nd and 2, and Burrow basically, I think Romo said it best, hits Basham in the helmet. Could have been an interception that would change the game. To me, this is the only play calling mistake that was made because you're running the hell out of the ball. It's 2nd and 2. Chase just got 8 yards. I mean, run the football. And Basham nearly catches it on an interception. And then 3rd and 2, another somewhat, I don't want to say questionable, but a situation where I wondered about the decision. 3rd and 2, throws the ball up the left sideline. White and Poyer collide with each other, but there's a DPI clearly on White. Again, I didn't think he played very well. Higgins has him beat. If he doesn't grab twice, then Higgins has probably got a great, opportunity to catch the football. 1st and goal from the 4, not able to get it in there. On a 3rd and goal, they end up running with Mixon, like I said, about 12 minutes left. Field goal makes it 27-10. From the short field goal makes it 27-10. And Romo, or maybe the other announcer said it, the Bengals have scored on 5 of 7 possessions. If this Bengals offense, if they play like this, they'll win the Super Bowl because of how adaptable and multiple their defense is. Assuming that there's not some situation where an offense takes advantage of them and is able to put up 35 points. If the Bengals can be this efficient running the football, avoid turnovers, obviously, and Burrow can get the ball to multiple guys. I think at one point he had 10 completions to 7 different receivers. They're, to me right now, the team that I would say they've got a great opportunity. But they've got to go to Kansas City. Who knows what Mahomes' health is, obviously, with his ankle. But this Bengals team, this Bengals defense, has stopped the Chiefs when they needed to. There was one game, I think it was maybe last year, or maybe it was this year in the regular season, I could be wrong, where the Chiefs really didn't get stopped after mid-second quarter against them. I'll have to check which game that was. I think they've played each other 4 times since 2020, definitely 3 in the last 2 years, right? And the Bengals have been able to handle their offense. They've been able to limit them and control them in certain situations. They've been able to, in a lot of ways, outsmart the Chiefs staff. The Chiefs went away from, in the AFC title game, last year, the Chiefs went away from the jet sweep, and the Chiefs went away from their little delay run game into the boundary that was there. And when I say there, I mean they were averaging 9 yards per carry on the jet sweep into the boundary. They're right. With, I think, Mecole Hardman. And they were averaging like 5 or 6 yards per carry on the little delay run into the boundary. And they just went away from it. But I think that a lot of those things have to be a credit to the Chiefs' defense. The Bengals' defense. They kind of take away your option 1, option 2, maybe even option 3. I'm not talking about personnel option. I'm talking about the plays you want to run, the concepts you want to utilize to move the football and score. They kind of take those away and force you to beat them, kind of like left-handed, to use a basketball analogy. They kind of like force you to your left, and then there's a help defender to your left. So you got like really no good options. They're a dangerous team. Dangerous team. I'm a Ravens fan. I do Ravens content. Got to watch the Ravens and Bengals 3 times this year against each other. Twice in back-to-back weeks, 180 minutes of football, and you really start to get a sense of what the team does well. And running for 170 against the Bills defense was the surprising part today. It wasn't surprising to me that Burrow was, I think, 23 of 36, something like that. He's had some similar numbers completion-wise against the Ravens, two of the games this year. One of them, he was high completion percentage. Chiefs defense is up against it. Chiefs defense is up against 11 personnel. Hell, it'll really depend on how effective can the Chiefs defense be against 11 personnel out of the Chiefs nickel, presumably. How consistently the Chiefs are able to run the football. If you are one-dimensional against this Bengals defense, you're in trouble, in my opinion. So the Chiefs offense, have got to figure out a way to be effective in the run game and remain true to that play calling. Force the Bengals to defend both your right hand and your left hand, both types of plays, run and pass. Regardless of whether Pat Mahomes plays, this team looks like one that's, on another run. And, I'm sorry if you're a Ravens fan and you don't like me saying that, but I just got to call it like I see it. Based on the game flow today, they played exceptional offensively. Defense, I think, played exceptional, really limiting Buffalo's offense. You see, Allen was 25 for 42, 265, but look at the rush stats. Just nothing for Buffalo. And that includes, I think, 3 runs in the last 8 minutes of the game that were kind of, really inconsequential. I think Singletary had like a 6-yard run and an 8-yard run or something like that in the last 3 minutes. It's kind of like, even that they generated 63 yards of rushing was misleading. Let me know what you think of the video, what you think of some of my thoughts. I'll be doing a video this week on the run concepts that the Bengals use to free up their running backs this afternoon, and really, I think, punish the Bills' defense, force them to kind of come forward a little bit more and maybe even open themselves up for the pass more. 5.8 yards per play for the Bengals is pretty damn good. I think that against the Chiefs, they might need a little more to go in there for real, even though they have beaten them multiple times in a row. It's difficult to beat someone 3, 4, 5 times in a row. The Bengals will certainly be confident. If you're a Bengals fan, and you're watching it, let me know what you think of the matchup. After watching today's game, 30 first downs, it's going to be tough for me to go into next week's game mentally and kind of favor the Chiefs. The Bengals seem to operate at an extremely high level on the road in the playoffs the last 2 years. They're battle-tested. They were able to go 12-4 this year with a Super Bowl loser schedule. I don't even like saying Super Bowl loser, really, Super Bowl runner-up. Higgins, Chase, Boyd, those guys, if they get the type of run, if they get anything approaching this type of run game in the next 2 games, it's going to be difficult to keep Joe Burrow and them from winning their first Super Bowl, for real. 33 minutes of possession, allowing their defense to be fresh. Incredible performance. Very impressive. It really doesn't matter to me as a Ravens fan what color jersey, what color helmet, what city location the teams are from. I have to recognize when I choose to watch a game, if a team plays near flawlessly, you have to recognize that and give credit where credit is due. And certainly the Bengals deserve a lot of it. As an AFC North fan, I'm proud to see a team from the AFC North be able to do something like they did today against the Bills, and I'll be rooting for them again next week, to be honest with you. You guys let me know what you think of the video, what you think of my thoughts, my breakdown and analysis. I plan on doing one video, like I said, of the run concepts that Mixon and Perrine relied on, the blocks behind the tight ends. Hurst thought they pulled the tackles a lot, the right tackle specifically, and really got the Bills' defense out of sorts. Appreciate you guys checking the video out. If you listen this long and you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, or maybe checking out some of my videos to see if it's worth subscribing. Appreciate you guys' time.